All right, so if you bought a Whoop and you don't know exactly what all it can do, this video is going to give you a breakdown on exactly what is inside of your Whoop dashboard, what you have access to, and how to get the most out of it. Now, I've been using my Whoop pretty consistently for the last 2 years, so I've got a good understanding of exactly how to get the most out of it. And to be honest, I can confidently say that it has changed my life. It allows me to push myself to my limits, keep setting new goals, and understand exactly what's happening inside, because without a device like this, you really don't know what's going on and how you should structure and plan your days, your weeks, and your months. So just jumping directly into the Whoop, I don't want to waste too much time. Here you can see your Whoop dashboard right here. Now, when you open up the page, you get 3 different rings at the top: your sleep, your recovery, and your strain. This is the backbone of the entire Whoop platform. Your sleep is obviously, pretty self-explanatory. This is your sleep score. So I got a 92% last night. I actually slept in quite a bit, so I'm very happy about that. So you can see over here, you get a 92% sleep performance overall, but that is broken up into a variety of different components. You've got your hours versus how many you needed. So if this was low, that means you needed more sleep than you actually got. I actually exceeded that. I got 100%, so that was a great night. Consistency. So what sleep consistency is it looks at an average of the last 4 days, and it tells you what was your bedtime and your wake up time, and how consistent was that in a bracket. So if I click on that, you can see that mine varies quite a bit. And then if it's above 80% consistency, then it's average. So you get an idea of that right there. Sleep efficiency right there. So it's the percentage of all the time that you spend actually asleep. So if you're waking up at night, if you're rolling around, if you're wasting time in bed, then this is going to be lower. So I spend a lot of my time sleeping, which is fantastic. Very happy about that. And then sleep stress. So are you stressed while you're actually sleeping? So maybe nightmares, maybe if you have some sort of anxiety, something lingering in your subconscious, then this could be a bigger problem. But for me, I don't really deal with that. So we have a very low sleep stress right there. Then if you scroll down, you can see a breakdown on what kind of sleep it was. So there's 4 different types. There's obviously, being awake, then there's light sleep, then there's deep sleep, and then there's REM sleep. It gives you the optimal ranges. So I've kind of missed my ranges there. So I had too much REM sleep. I didn't have enough light sleep. So based on the optimal ranges, then you're going to do better or worse. You scroll down here, then you've got your hours versus needed. So like I mentioned, it said I needed 8 hours and 51 minutes, but I actually got 9 hours. And then that balances into your strain and your sleep debt. So it calculates how much you need based on how much are you physically exerting your body. So if you worked out the previous day, if you push yourself to the limit, then the sleep needed is going to be higher. If you aren't recovering well, then sleep needed is going to be higher. If you have sleep debt. So sleep debt is really important. What that means is, if you're not getting the hours that you need, then that's not just a one-time thing. That's going to carry forward every single day, every single week. So if I slept for only 3 hours last night, but I needed 8 hours, I've just added 5 hours of sleep debt. And that's not going to go away. That's going to be lingering in my subconscious. So then one day I need to do like a big 10-hour sleep to actually balance that out, or I get some extra sleep every single day to negate that. Here's the sleep consistency that I was talking about. So you can see here, it gives you a range. So I sleep around 1 a.m. and I wake around like 9 to 9:30. I don't know. I think I ignored my alarm today. But you can see that the more that you stay within that band, within that range, that's going to tell you exactly how your consistency was. And then, the better you do that, the better your body is going to adapt to it, respond to it, and then give you, then you're naturally going to fall asleep at those times, wake up at those times. Your body understands a regular rhythm, and then you just basically fall into that. Then sleep efficiency. So we talked a bit about this. How much do you actually wake up? How much do you spend asleep? So super important. Sleep stress over here. And then, so you can see that mine's pretty low, but I've seen some people have quite high sleep stress. So that's just something to work on. You scroll down, you get your weekly trends over here. You get your range between hours versus needed. And then a bunch of more metrics. So you can go deeper into any of these that you actually care about. So if I'm very interested in, how long am I spending in bed, I can click on that. It tells me exactly, this is how much you spent in bed, but maybe you weren't asleep for the whole time. So if you guys roll around in bed or you doom scroll, then this is actually going to pick up on that, which is pretty important. Let's see if there's anything left in sleep for me to show you. Cool. So now you just get extra details if you want to go in there. Now, by the way, if you have any questions about any of these metrics over here, in the bottom right, you're going to see this Whoop AI thing. So you can actually talk to an AI that understands your data and can see everything you're looking at. And you can actually say, hey, I noticed that this is off, or I'm not feeling too rested even though I got 9 hours. Why could that be? And then it can actually break that down. I told it earlier that I had a sore throat, so I'd actually remember that. And it has like a memory. It's like your fitness trainer or your companion that you can kind of work alongside, which is really cool. Then you have your recovery over here. So recovery is super important based on the strain that is on your body, how far you're exerting yourself, and how well you're actually resting. It's going to give you a score on your recovery. So you have heart rate variability here. This is one of the most important metrics that people don't really know about. So what this does is this tells you the variation between your heartbeats. Now the important thing about HRV is that it's not the raw number that we care about. Like for example, if mine is 46 and someone else is 60, that doesn't mean that they're better than me at, in HRV, for example. What we care about is the trend. We want it to go upwards compared to our baseline. So if your baseline is 30, but yours has slowly crept up to 35, 36, 40, 45, which is amazing, then that upward trend is all that you care about. You're not worse off than someone who's 60. We all have different baselines. So please don't think that, just because you're seeing a lower number doesn't really mean anything. Once it calculates your baseline and then you are improving, then that means that your heart is getting better at adapting to stress and situations and things like that. It's not going to consistently keep going up, and it's going to go up and down on a daily basis. That's completely normal. It also is an indicator of like how your body is feeling that specific day. So if I notice that my HRV is like 40, for example, but my baseline is like 45, then I know that I need to rest a bit more and, take it easier on my body. But if I'm getting like let's see here, like on days that I've gone up to 58, for example, feel fantastic, then I can really push my body to that level. So I've been kind of steady, kind of, falling even. So it's something that I'm trying to work on. If I look at my 6-month average, it's been pretty consistent around that 45 to 50 range. But if I can get it to break 50, 55, to 60, I'm very interested in doing that. And that's one of my goals. Then you've got resting heart rate. So what, it's pretty self-explanatory. What is your resting heart rate? So you want to keep this, like a good range for me is I want to keep it under 60 as much as possible. So my weekly average is around 50, 59. The lower you get it, the better it is for you. So this is something to keep in mind. And then if you want a detailed breakdown, you can see exactly what that is down there. Then you've got respiratory rate over here. So this is a measure of how many breaths you take per minute while you're sleeping. So the lower this number is, the better. Of course, it does fluctuate, so don't beat yourself up if it goes up one day and think you're doing something that's off. It all just comes in together. But ideally, the trend is that you want it to fall. Mine stays pretty flat, pretty consistent, but I obviously want this to fall better. So this is something that I'm dealing with, that I overexert my body. I like to work out every single day, but clearly it doesn't reflect well into the recovery stats because I don't give my body a chance to recover. If you scroll down, then here are your weekly trends. So obviously greens are great. You want to have as many greens as possible to show your body is recovering well. But of course, if I had like a big workout yesterday, I'm going to get a yellow today, and that's something that's pretty unavoidable. So you want to just keep an eye on these trends and make sure they're trending in the direction that you want. And same as before, you can click on any of these and expand them further. Finally, we have strain over here. So strain is basically a measure of heart rate and how hard you're pushing yourself and your heart. So heart rate zones 1 to 3. So this is if you're doing like, it's like a lighter workout. So it goes progressively higher. So zone 1 to 2, that's like a light workout. Maybe you're lifting weights. Zone 3 is maybe if you're jogging or doing light cardio. So you can see how many minutes you're spending here. So for example, I spend about 2.5 hours per week in zones 1 to 3 because I work out every day. So you can see here that, yesterday I spent 40 minutes in zones 1 to 3. Maybe I was jogging, maybe I was working out. I also skip, like I do skipping rope in between my sets, so that keeps my heart rate high. So that's, something that I particularly do. But you can see that it tracks pretty much every single day. And you get a breakdown of your zones as well. This is super important to keep track of. In future videos, I'll go into detail on each one of these different metrics, but right now I just want to give you an overview of exactly what is inside of your Whoop. Then you have heart rate 4 to 5. So this is when you're really pushing yourself. So this is when I'm like sprinting or I'm playing some sort of sport and being like really athletic. Then you have zones 4 to 5. This is very hard for me to get into. I don't really, play a lot of sports or push myself there, but it's become a goal of mine. And I'll show you how to do goal setting in a second. But I want to get, at least 30 minutes to an hour, ideally, in zones 4 to 5 a week, which is not the easiest thing to do. But you can see that I've at least been trying, because before I was pretty much at 0. This is something that I recommend that you do care about, because this is how you build up your heart's capabilities, and it can, pump more oxygen. It's a stronger heart. You're going to ideally live longer. So zones 4 to 5 are like the biggest blind spot that majority of people miss, because they're never really exerting themselves to that level. Then we have strength activity. So how much weight training do you do per day? or per week. So you can see per week I work out relatively consistently over here. And then you can track those metrics like that. So you can go back in time and see how much did you work out on a specific day. I spend about 4 hours a week weightlifting. Steps is something I'm really pushing myself on. So I bought a walking pad, which you can't see here, but I'll make another video on it in the future. But steps are something that I really care about. So in the last week, I'm averaging 13.5K steps per day. So you can see my range over here. For the month, I'm at 8.5, and you can see the trend going up, right? So I really didn't care about my steps up until maybe 2 weeks ago. So you can see the big jump that's taking place. And I just want to keep pushing that as high as possible. Steps are super important. They're very easy to get if you can bake them into your lifestyle. Getting something like a walking pad like I have, or going out for a walk in between meals is, something that can really help. And then if you scroll down, you can see your strain over here. So I didn't explain what strain was. So strain is a measure that Whoop have created for the strain on your body, right? It's a scale that I think goes up to 21. So you can see here that Friday I did 12.4, Tuesday I did 14.9. So the idea is that based on how hard you're pushing yourself, like freak athletes are going to get that 21. Like I will probably never get to 21. That's like really just committing your entire body to whatever you're doing. But Whoop is going to suggest what an optimal strain is for you based on your body, your heart, things like that. So your job is just to do whatever they say is your optimal strain for that day. So the way to find that, so you can see that icon in the pie chart that has like that white symbol right there. If you scroll down, it says your body is capable of taking on moderate effort today to maintain. Aim for a strain between 9.2 and 13.2 today. So right now I'm at 5 for the day because all I've done is walk. But if I was to work out, that's the optimal strain that they suggest. If I really push myself far, then recovery tomorrow might be harder. So it's really just doing all the math for you right there. And then you can track your metrics here for those different strain related things. So everything related to strain, working out, exercising, sports, everything of that will be shown inside of your strain over here. Now, if you scroll down, you've got your day over here. So the day is really cool. So, you can see your activities, sleep, walking, things like that. If I show you yesterday, it might be better. So if I click on yesterday, now you can see that my sleep yesterday was a lot lower. So I only slept for 7 hours and 50 minutes. I did weightlifting over there. I did running at the end of my workout, and then I did some walking as well. Now you can click on any of these to open up further insights. So if I click on my weightlifting, I'll get a full breakdown of the split between cardio and, weight training, the zones that I was in. So I was mainly in zone 1 for the workout because I wasn't really pushing myself that hard. It's just lifting weights. You get a full breakdown on your average heart rate, the duration, the calories you burned, which isn't always accurate. I don't really use this for calories, but it's just something that you have access to. Let's go back to yesterday. Then you can open up running, for example. So for running, like I mentioned, it's my goal to get into zone 4 to 5, right? And it's very hard for me to do that. So I was just sprinting and I spent 4 minutes in zone 5, which I'm very happy with. I thought my heart was going to explode, but that's really the premise and the goal. Ideally, it's going to get easier over time, and that's something that I'm trying to do. If you scroll down here, then you get a whole breakdown on that specific activity, which is important, right? And if you do an activity that wasn't logged, you can do add activity right there. And then you can say out of this entire list, what were you doing? What time did you do it for? And then it's going to match your heart rate to that activity. So now it knows for future insights, how you act when you play badminton or paddle or pickleball, or when you push a stroller. It understands about you and your heart rate when it matches it to an activity rather than it just guessing, what did you do? If you're about to do something, what I like to do as well, just to make things super easy, is if you click on this button right there, that plus icon, and then do start activity, while I'm going to go on a walk or before I start working out, I'm just going to come over here, select weightlifting, and then click start activity. The reason I like this is because I can track my heart rate throughout the entire workout. So I know when I'm in zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then push myself accordingly. So it depends how much you guys care. I love, just staying on top of this. That's the whole purpose of what I'm doing. Then if you come down over here, you've got tonight's sleep. So it gives you a recommendation on when you should sleep tonight and when it recommends to wake you up. So you can play around with your alarm there. What people don't realize is that the Whoop actually has a built-in alarm feature. I don't know if this is just the 5.0, which I have, but it actually vibrates in the morning, which can wake you up based on your optimal time, which is pretty cool. If you scroll down here, you've got your journal as well. So if you have things that you want to track, and if you want to know how it actually influences your body and how you're performing, then the journal is a great feature to use. So basically what this means is that if you're taking certain supplements or you do certain activities or behaviors that you want to know, is this making a difference in my body? Is this worth me actually doing? Whoop can tell you that. So for example, if I bought mouth tape, for example, to stop mouth breathing while I sleep, does that actually make a difference to my sleep? So what I would do is, every day I would say, did you wear mouth tape while you were sleeping? I could say yes or no. If I said yes, then Whoop, after a couple of days, after a couple of weeks, it's going to notice a trend. When Hamza wears mouth tape, his sleep is significantly better. And we have data to back that up. So then I know, okay, it actually makes a difference for me to wear mouth tape. And the point is that instead of just guessing and arbitrarily and subjectively thinking, oh yeah, I think this is good for me, you have data to actually back that up. So the way to do that is you can open up your journal. In the top right, you can click the pencil icon, and then you can actually add in different behaviors, drugs, medications, lifestyle changes. Like, did I travel today? Did I drink alcohol? Maybe, when I'm drinking caffeine, for example, it's been way harder for me to sleep. So that's an obvious one. When you donate blood, random things, you get the idea, right? So if there's certain things that you want to track on how it impacts your body, select them over here. So maybe I'll do like night shifts. Let's say Ramadan, that would have been useful. Remote work, for example. If I click on save behavior, now every day it's going to ask me a journal, hey, did you take supplements today? Did you work from home? Yes. And all of this data goes into the system and gives you actionable insights, and it basically just tells you what is the impact on these decisions you're making every single day. So you can then make informed choices on how you live your life, which I think is really cool. So I'm going to dismiss that right there. Now coming down to your dashboard over here, so all the metrics we saw up here in sleep, recovery, and strain, you can see them at a quick glance. So over here, if you care about your dashboard, you can come to customize and only pick the metrics you actually care about. So I care about HRV, sleep performance, consistency. If you care about other things like what's my strain for the day, I can click on plus. Now it's been added to my list. And then you can pick what you like here, or you can remove what you don't like over here. Click save. And now your dashboard gets updated. So all of the quick metrics you care about will appear right here, so you can get them whenever you need to. So now strain has been added. I'm at a 5 strain today. And then you can just at a glance see what you care about. So people customize this all the time. Once you watch this video and you have an understanding of, okay, what do I actually care about? What do I not care about? Customize your dashboard, because every day when you log on, you should quickly just see, okay, these are the metrics I care about. I'm optimizing for steps, for sleep performance, for recovery. This is what I need to know. How am I feeling today? How should I act today? And then that's all you act upon, which is super important. And that's it for your main home dashboard right there. There's other cool stuff here, which I'll make a separate video on, which is Whoop Health. So I really care about my Whoop age. It's kind of gamified health for me, and it just makes me want to strive towards getting a younger age. So right now it's telling me that I'm 4.1 years younger, which I'm, very happy with, but I want to get that as low as possible. Right now I'm 27. It's telling me I'm 23. So I want to get that below 21, below 20 ideally. So that's why I'm optimizing for everything that goes into Whoop age. So after you have your Whoop for about 2 weeks, it'll tell you what your Whoop age is. And then I'll make a new video on like how to optimize for Whoop age, because it's actually really fun. But that's a great indicator for your health. Then you've got a community section over here, so you can make groups of like friends and stuff, which you guys can compete with. So like, I don't have that many groups. If anyone wants to make a group, then we can set that up. But those were the main features that are useful inside of a Whoop. Now I'm going to go and make future videos going into detail on each one of these, why they matter, how to improve them, different strategies that I've been using to get my Whoop age to be 4.1 years younger, because I think a lot of people want to at least, I think by default it might be older. The first thing you want to do is get your Whoop age to equal your real age if it's not already. That should be your goal number one. And then after that, you want to reverse your pace of aging. So for example, my pace of aging is 0.1x, meaning that for every year that I age, my Whoop age is only going to go up, like 10% of that. And I want to get that to negative at some point. So that's going to be my next step. So I'll make future videos on that, but if you have a Whoop now, you might as well get the most out of it. You might as well spend some time understanding all of these different metrics, customizing your dashboard to what you actually care about, how you can improve upon this. Use the journal feature, because I think that's super underrated. And if you like videos like this, I'm thinking of putting together like a community of like people who genuinely want to get the most out of their Whoop, like Whoop power users almost, as if I could call them that, of people who are like nerdy about this stuff, who want to optimize their body, their health, who want to live forever, live longer. That's something that I am passionate about and interested in. So you can leave a comment in the comment section below if that does interest you. But I genuinely, I'm on this every single day, just having fun optimizing it. And I know people would say, hey, don't obsess over the numbers. That's really not its purpose. But I'm not doing it in an unhealthy way. I'm doing it in a way that I genuinely enjoy. It allows me to research more about how my body operates, how I can optimize it. And it's a way for me to gamify just getting healthier, which is, I think, everybody's goal. So I wanted to share that on this channel as well, because I have a good understanding of how this tool works, how to get the most out of it. So more than happy to share that with the group. So feel free to subscribe if you're interested in that, and I'll see you in the next one.